came to realizing, I think, that only by watching porn, I take part in creating a demand for filmed prostitution, because that's what porn really is, filmed prostitution. Porna stands for prostitute, graphia stands for documentation, and prostitution was nobody's childhood dream, okay? It is always a result of trouble and distress. Now, I became aware of that gradually when I was volunteering with men and women in prostitution, some of them victims of human traffic, serving aid in brothels, under the bridge, in street corners, but you don't really need to do all that in order to understand how this mechanism of porn and prostitution works. Because porn as a genre, it's not about erotica or healthy sexual communication. It is all about male domination of women, subordinance of women, not only as a sexual practice, as a way of being, as a genderial hierarchy in this world. Like if we would ask porn, if we were to ask porn, how does it define something as sexual? What qualifies, what defines something as sexual? Porn would laugh in our face. What defines sexual? Whatever men find arousing. Men find it arousing to choke a woman, to have brutal sex without one touch, hug, kiss, tender caress. Well, then it is sexual. It arouses men to see a woman or a child cry. It is sexual. It arouses men to rape a woman. Well, then it is sexual. In every mainstream porn gallery on the web, we can find the rape category, side by side with the humiliation category, abuse category, crying category. And this is all as if regular porn is not already filled with these motives. Even in its mildest version, the mildest version of porn. What porn is showing us, like, I don't know, 80, maybe 90% of the time, is actually sex with no hands involved. And this is not how we authentically desire. Sorry, I'll repeat that. I see your look. Sex with no hands involved. Okay. If you're not going to give up watching porn, so next time you do watch, just notice that porn cameras have no interest in capturing any normal sensual activities, such as petting, caressing, making out, touching, hugging, kissing. No. What porn cameras are into is the penetration. So normally, the composition will be a man and a woman, hopefully just one. Okay, so one man and one woman. His penis is inside her. Don't be picky, it doesn't matter where inside. Somewhere inside her there is a penis. His penis is somewhere inside her, okay? And in order to not block the camera for doing this extreme close-up on the penetration, he's standing with his hands behind his back most of the time. And the woman is in this uncomfortable position, and she needs to handle the penis inside her without damaging the hair or makeup work done on her, because that's money invested and time invested in her, without disturbing his aggressive movement, and mainly without blocking the camera. So the result is that we got two people having sex, different shapes and acrobatics or something, but they're having sex when the only body parts that actually touch each other are the penis and the part being penetrated. No hands involved. Now, I talk, I don't know, 250, 300 times a year. Soldiers, students, pupils. No one has ever come up to me and say, Ran, you know, that part with sex with no hand thing, that was my authentic desire. Like, when I was 11 or 12, I never wanted to kiss anybody or touch them. I was not curious about that. It was all penetrations to begin with. No one has ever said that. Before porn. After porn. In my private fantasies before watching porn, there was always a very strong narrative. And the narrative was of sensuality and desires. Let's just try to imagine, or I can share with you orally, what is the impact of 20 minutes of watching porn once, twice a week, nothing unmoderated? It's overtaking. And porn is in our households whether we want it or not, and I believe that it does not agree with our well-being. And because we have internet in the Western world all over the place, almost in every cellular phone now, we've got 90% of 12-year-olds watching porn on a regular basis. And it has both an addictive effect and a paralyzing effect. It's addictive because we develop somewhat of a dependency in porn, but the paralyzing part is because, mainly for young boys and men, because porn is teaching us that as a man, you are solely valued in sex by having a large penis and an eternal erection. According to porn, being a valuable sexual partner does not relate with being sensual, passionate, attentive, generous, well coordinated. None of the above. It is all about large penis and eternal sunshine, which we don't possess. So boys become paralyzed, and if they don't become paralyzed by watching porn, very often they turn into imitators of what they saw, which means they become aggressors. Aggressors, even when emotion is involved, like there is so much sexual abuse going on nowadays within the confines of what we perceive from the outside as beautiful teenage love stories or healthy adult relationships, because we don't really talk about sex. We just see it all over the place. We don't really talk about it. So what goes on in the confines of a certain room, but these are all sexual mutations that happens. If we talk about women, it's not only that, but young girls and women get the message, not only from hardcore porn, but from our porn-influenced mainstream culture. Have you seen any Miley Cyrus, Lady Gaga video clip, commercials? That's porn with clothes on it. So girls get this notion that if you want to be worthy of love, first and foremost, you have to be worthy of sexual desire. And now, the definition of sexual desire almost equals be like a porn star. So I work in dozens and dozens of high schools and junior highs. In every single one of these schools, I find girls that at a certain point agreed to be documented in an intimate situation because they wanted to please some guy that they had feelings for. And this guy misappropriated their trust. Always same story, so he sells it on WhatsApp application or on the web, in the internet. And normally nobody even addresses him in terms of moral. But it is always girls that suffer from shaming and mortification. They can change school, they drop out normally. Change school, move to another city and still be haunted on social networks. They develop clinical depressions, severe eating disorders, as if we don't have enough reasons in our culture to develop eating disorders. They become so isolated socially. So some of them, like Amanda Todd, rest in peace, some of them actually commit suicide because they find no more value in life or in themselves. So porn is not only in our house, it is a capital case. It is not a minor phenomenon in our society. It is a question of life and death sometimes.
So I'd like to go over this verse. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً. And those people, when they do something immodest, indecent, something shameful, أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ, or they wrong themselves. And over here, fahisha and ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ, wronging themselves, are equated with one another with the أَوْ, meaning or. Meaning this or this, or this is equal to this. Both meanings are true. So if you look here, and those who, when they commit immorality or shamefulness, or wrong themselves, by doing this, you're hurting yourself, you're wronging yourself. When you do something wrong, it's like you're hurting yourself. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ, they remember Allah. فَاسْتَغْفِرُوا, and they seek forgiveness لِذُنُوبِهِمْ, for their sins. وَمَنْ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and who forgives sins except Allah. So if someone has done something wrong, if someone got themselves recorded in a situation they shouldn't have, well, ask Allah for forgiveness. وَلَمْ يَصِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا, and don't persist in what you have done wrong. Meaning they don't persist, they're humble of what they have done. وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, while they know what they have done is wrong. Quitting porn addiction, not easy. But the beginning starts with every time you do something wrong, ask Allah for forgiveness, ask Allah for help, and the help will inshallah come. Maybe one day I will talk in some detail about how to quit porn. I have one video on this already, but I want to do another one that's a little bit more explaining the steps, you can say, in a little bit more detail, especially for people that are trying to practice Islam when they're in this addiction. It really paralyzes them. So وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ. When those people who do something immodest or something wrong to themselves remember Allah, فَاسْتَغْفِرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ, and they seek forgiveness for their sins. وَمَنْ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and who forgives sins other than Allah. وَلَمْ يَصِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا, and they're not persistent in what they have done, meaning they have the intention to change. وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, while they are aware of it. So may Allah help us all. Porn is a very, very destructive force in our society. It's not a matter of freedom. In fact, he actually touches upon this. Maybe if I can go into that.
It is mainly a question of life and death for the people who participate in porn, because porn is not an embodiment of freedom of speech, freedom of occupation, blah, blah, blah. No, it's an embodiment of sex exploitation, working side by side with human traffic, raping, pimping, solicitation.
Okay.